Shabbat Shalom. One of the most well-known Jewish folk tales is that of the mythical golem. It tells of the humanoid figure created from dust or ash or mud that the McCarroll of Prague fashioned in the 16th century to defend the Jews from their enemies. One of the ways to activate the golem, according to legend, is by applying the Hebrew word for truth, emet, aleph, mem, tav, onto its body, specifically its forehead. Yet as the story unfolds, the golem grows fearsome and violent, the power of its life force too strong, to the point that the McCarroll must destroy it. He does this by erasing the letter aleph, leaving the mem and the tav, which form the word met, or dead. Exactly. Taking a step back, I learned that the root of the word golem itself refers to something that is incomplete or finished, unfinished. In a world right now that appears to be feeding a different golem entirely, the golem of incomplete truths, whether it comes from the news, from social media, from all around us, it is precisely this matter of truth and why it matters that has been on my mind almost every day since October 7. As always, our Jewish wisdom has much to say on the topic. Truth we come to understand does not simply refer to facts in our tradition. It first and foremost refers to faith. Emet ve'emunah kol zot, true and faithful is all of this we read in our evening liturgy. Emet v'yatziv ve'ahuv ve'chaviv, true and enduring, beloved and precious is this eternal truth we recite as we pray for redemption each morning. We heard those words earlier today. According to our liturgy, this enduring truth being referred to is the notion that there is one God who is the ultimate sovereign, the one who will protect and redeem us from harm and danger, hearing the voices of the oppressed in their hour of need. If you are like me, then this bracha, this blessing, feels especially on the nose right now, as we await, even at this hour, with bated breath, the redemption of the remaining 227 Israelis still being held hostage by Hamas. The words frankly taste bittersweet, for if it was a truth that our prayers worked like the magic that brought the golem to life and then wiped it out once more, then would not each and every one of those hostages have been home in their warm beds over a month ago? Yet we can understand this prayer, or any prayer, as not magic, but as an expression of our deepest hopes and fears, our greatest trials and tribulations, ancient and modern, and as a way of putting into words the thoughts and feelings we might not yet have the language to articulate. In that way, it is indeed an expression of truth, as we hold on to the hope and comfort of a faith which reminds us that we are not alone in the presence of God and one another, even at the most difficult of times, and even if there is a tremendous amount of hard work left to do. And that is a truth too. On that note, thank God that the first group of 24 hostages yesterday, 13 Israelis, 10 Thai, and 1 Filipino, were released. The best gift, the sweetest relief leading into Shabbat, a gift which brings forth its own set of truths. The first truth that we can encounter is that the deal was inherently disproportionate, as we know that for each Israeli released, there are at least three Palestinians being freed from jail. Not only is this disproportional numerically, but we can also keep in mind that whilst the Palestinians leaving jail were largely convicted on charges of terrorism, both greater and smaller, from throwing stones to attempted stabbings, each Israeli held captive is an innocent, guilty of no crimes and abducted from their peaceful homes on that terrible morning for no other reason except the simple fact the simple truth that they live in a Jewish state, the Jewish state. That being said, it is equally a truth that despite this disproportionality, as Rabbi Slansky addressed last night, Israel has made such deals before, having exchanged over 1,000 prisoners in return for Gilad Shalit, the soldier held captive by Hamas for over 5 years between 2006 and 2011. So what truths does this speak to, which we as Jews hold? Here I might suggest that we speak not only to faith, but also to principle. We first speak to our truth as Jews of the principle of pikuach nefesh, the mitzvah, the sacred deed of preserving a life. This principle is so dear, so beloved and precious to us, one might say, that it is the mitzvah which overrides all other mitzvot, no matter how extensively the Torah attempts to convey the importance of mitzvot and the perils of transgressing them. For example, a pregnant woman or one who becomes ill may even eat on Yom Kippur, meaning that they break the fast or don't fast at all in order to preserve their health. In fact, according to Maimonides, it is not just acceptable but required to disregard laws which conflict with life and with health, and neither the patient nor the ones attending to them, such as a doctor, need to atone when performing such acts, which are, of course, forbidden under regular circumstances. The example par excellence is that one may even desecrate the observance of Shabbat, which may be suspended to ensure the safeguarding of a human soul, as outlined by our Tosefta. Our Midrash will then pick up on this idea, saying that it is preferable to profane one Shabbat, that one may then live to keep many, many more. With the image of the Shabbat tables in cities all over the world, from Tel Aviv to Toronto, set for the hostages, may God return the rest of them, that they too may keep many more Shabbatot in the company of their families, their friends, and their communities. Referring back to Maimonides, the second truth that we can hold is the one that has been emblazoned on the signs and banners produced by our siblings in the Israeli Reform movement these last few weeks, attributed to the Rambam. Ein lecha mitzvah gedola kepidyon shvuyim. There is no greater mitzvah than the redemption of captives, and we spoke a bit about this last night too. According to the Rambam, this is the greatest of all mitzvot. This is because, in his logic, the one who keeps a captive is found to have sinned because they also transgress a number of other mitzvot along the way, through the hardening of one's heart and the standing idly by the blood of their siblings, because we assume that the captive is not being taken care of, that they are unclothed, that they are hungry, which are transgressions in and of themselves. Our truth as Jews, it may then be inferred, is that the cleaving to our principles and our mitzvot allows us to be a force for moral good in this world, valuing life and safety even over fairness and an unbalanced scale. Rabbi Lisa Grushko, our colleague in Montreal, published an opinion piece earlier this week which suggests to us two further principles that our truths may be based upon: humility and humanity. Humility, she writes, is admitting that what you don't know and asking questions, not just posting memes, but seeking knowledge. Have you studied Torah? Do you know what Zionism means? Can you understand that being pro-Israel does not exclude the desire for innocence on all sides to be taken care of, to be safe, to be healthy? We can learn through humility to be curious, to disagree respectfully, to argue well in our own pursuits of truth, she says. If humility is having an open mind, Rabbi Grushko continues, then humanity is having an open heart, with our hearts being expansive enough to mourn for the innocents wounded and killed on all sides, as per the way we have been phrasing prior to our Mishaberach blessings. In line with our tradition, if we lose our humanity, we will subsequently lose our ability to hold truth. We know it is complicated. We know it is messy. We know it is never as straightforward as it seems, but it is exactly what keeps us human. It's also what enables us as Jews to be a people who can hold nuanced, simultaneous truths at the same time, which is no easy feat. As Jews, we know that we are capable of, as Rabbi Mama of blessed memory used to say, crying with one eye and laughing with the other. We witness this from the experiences of the hostages themselves and the reactions of their families. Some of you may have seen shortly before Shabbat a photo on social media and in the news as well of Yoni Asher and his family, his beloved wife Doron and their two beautiful little girls, Raz, 5 years old, and Aviv, 2 years old, who, thank God, have been reunited after Doron, Raz, and Aviv were taken by Hamas from their home on kibbutz near Oz, and subsequently returned in the first tranche of hostages let go after 48 days in captivity. The caption in Hebrew reads that Yoni is the happiest man in the world who received his whole world, his entire world, in return, his wife and 2 daughters. What person would not be over the moon at having their family back? Yoni Asher certainly is. That is to be sure. That is true. In the same breath, in a subsequent piece in the Times of Israel, he reiterates that it is also a truth that he will not be able to fully celebrate until all of the hostages are safely back home, and this is a sentiment repeated by other such families. Yoni says, I am happy that I got my family back, but I don't celebrate. I won't celebrate until the last of the hostages returns. I want to emphasize, our children, our fathers, our mothers, our sisters are at this time in captivity. There are people whose hearts are broken at this time, and I want to make sure that every last hostage will return home. The very definition of smiling with one eye and crying with the other, as we feel Asher's relief and joy, as well as the continued heartbreak and pain contained in his statement. This complicated relationship with truth is ultimately why it is left to God in our Jewish tradition. Our Talmud in Tractate Shabbat teaches us this, with the great sage Reish Lakish saying, the letter Tav is the last letter of the seal of the Holy One. As Rabbi Hanina said, the seal of the Holy One is truth, emet, which ends with the letter Tav. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani reiterates this point, adding, the letter Tav teaches that these are people who observed the entire Torah from Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, through Tav, the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Put differently, according to our Talmud, God takes on this moniker of the arbiter of truth, placing a great divine stamp of approval of sorts as we stumble our way through each letter of the alphabet, each step along the journey of a life of truth in which we mortals seek to be worthy of God's seal. In other words, there is truth to the saying, God only knows. So the truth we learn and our Jewish concept of it is as muddy as the earth from which our golem friend was created. There may never be a fully right or fully complete answer, but we as Jews are tasked with the obligation to pursue truth through our principles and through our mitzvot, for this is our means, this is the means of connecting with God and living a life of goodness and moral clarity. As a call to action in the days ahead, I echo Rabbi Slansky's invitation to you, our Holy Blossom family, for the opportunity of a lifetime to realize this ideal. We encourage you to join us in December 4 in Ottawa, as we tell our truths to the Canadian government, as we stand for the return of the hostages and against the manifestation of hate in our good country. We can make the fight against the golems of mistruth in our own time just a little bit easier by standing together and standing as one. You can find the details on our website after Shabbat and continue checking as the information gets updated in the coming week. So Shalom al Yisrael and Shabbat Shalom.